Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah. On today's video, we'll be sewing the straight trouser. I made use of Ankara fabric. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Please share this video with your sew friends. So guys, let's jump right into it. I'll be doing the markings on my fabric, and you make sure your fabric is into two the way mine is, like this, 1 and 2. The next I came down by 2 inches. This is the startup line, the guide for me, and I came in by 3 inches here. By the time you keep watching, you understand why I came in by 3 inches from the side of my trouser. After doing that, now the next we have to do is to get from waist to hip. This is the waist. For waist to hip, I will make use of 9 inches for waist to hip. The next we have to do is to get the crouch. For my crouch, I will divide the hip by 4. The hip I'm working with is 38.5. 38.5 divided by 4 will give me 9.75. I will just approximate this to 10 inches. Here, this is my crouch line. Then the next I have to do now is to get from waist to nail. Waist to nail I'm working with is 21 inches. I'll mark 21 inches here. Then the next we have to do is to get waist to the length of the trouser, which is 43 inches. I will do that and connect the lines together. I'm through with the connecting of the lines. Now the next we have to do is to divide the hip by 4. The hip I'm working with is 38.5. 38.5 divided by 4 will give me 9.75. I will approximate this to 10 inches. So now we're making use of 10 inches. The hip is 10 inches. I'll put it on the crouch line, and I'll do the same thing also on my waist, 10 inches. I'll connect these lines together. After dropping your hip measurement, the next you have to do now, on your waistline here, you divide your waist by 4. The waist I'm working with is 30. 30 divided by 4 will give me 7.5. Here I'll put down 7.5 on the waist, and I will put 1 inches for that intake and mark down here. Now I'll divide what I have here by 2 and put it down like this, and check what I have from this line here. I have 4.25. I'll come down here also and mark 4.25. Then for my hip line here, I'll come up by 2 inches because the dart is not getting to the hip. Now connect with a straight line. Now open this dart by ½ inches, and here also I'll connect my dart leg. After doing this now, I'll come up by ½ inches on my waist here and mark. So now I'll connect this ½ inches down to this first dart leg here, like this. So now this mark we have here for the dart, I'll connect it down to my hip line this way. So after getting this now, next you have to do is to get the front crouch. To get your front crouch, you divide your hip by 4. The hip I'm working with, after dividing it, I have 2 inches. Here I'll put down 2 inches for my front crouch, and I'll check what I have to the hip line here. I have 12.25. I'll divide this by 2 like this and mark. This line here is my crease line. I'll take this measurement I have here like this. I have 6 inches. I'll bring it down to the nail, 6 inches. I'll do the same thing also to the hem of my trouser. So after doing that, now you have to connect your crouch line together this way. You can see the way I did mine. Because we are cutting a straight trouser, I will check what I have for my hip. I have 10 inches. I'll come here also on the nail line and mark 10 inches. I'll be dividing this 10 inches by 2, 5 inches here and 5 inches here also. Now I'll connect from crouch down to the nail on the inseam, and on the side of my trouser I'll connect from the crouch line down to the nail also, like this. Now I'll connect this down to the hem of the trouser. So on the hem of the trouser also, I will divide what I have, which is the hip 5 inches here, 5 inches here also. So now from the knee line, I'll connect with a straight line down to the hemline. Then on the inseam also, I will do the same thing. So after connecting the lines together, we are done with the front trouser. You can see how it is. The next thing you have to do is to go ahead to add your seam allowance to this, because we are drafting on the fabric. You add your seam allowance. I'll add 1 inches on this side of my trouser, and on the inseam I'll add ½ inches round to the hem of the trouser. But because I want to draft my back pattern on this fabric, I will just leave it first and draft the back pattern. I'll be coming in with a white chalk for the back pattern. The next you have to do is to come in from this straight line we have here as the hip, and come in by 0.75, because we are drafting for a small size. You come in by 0.75. But when you are drafting for plus size, let's say the hip is 40 and above, you make use of 1 inches or 1.25. On the waist here, I will come in from here by 1.5 inches and mark. So now connect this with a slant line like this down. This is the crouch for the back. After doing that, we have to get the crouch extension for the back. To get your crouch extension for the back, you divide your hip by 20. After doing that, I have 4 inches. I'll put down my 4 inches here. So now connect the back crouch. When you see this white chalk, you know it's the back pattern we are drafting. We're getting the back crouch, the crouch now for the back. Now the next you have to do is to come up from your waistline here, from the waist by 1.5 inches. On your waist now, we check what we have on the waist. For the waist, we have 7.5. This is 7.5 here. 7.5 for my waist. 7.5 for the waist. Then I'll add 1 inches for that. That's 8.5. Now come up from this straight line I have here by ½ inches. You connect this 1.5 inches down to this ½ inches we have here this way. So this is the back waist. Now for the hip, now get my hip measurement, which is 10 inches here, and mark. Now connect from the waist to hip. Now I'll check what I have from my hip here. We have 2.25. I'll bring it down to the crouch line here, 2.25. Now connect with the straight line. Connect these lines together. So now the next we have to do is to come on the knee line here and mark ½ inches here. So now connect the inseam of the back together like this. Then on the side of my back trouser, I'll come in also. I'll come by ½ inches here and mark. So now connect this down also. This is the back. So now connect this down to the hem of my trouser. I'm done connecting the lines down to the hem of the trouser. Now the next you have to do is to mark out the darts for the back. I'll just put my ruler this way and mark my darts for the back. Now after doing that, now open up my darts. Then I will add ½ inches on my inseam. I'll add ½ inches here down. Then on this side of my trouser, I'll be adding 1 inches to the hem of the trouser. I'm through the cutting of the back and the front of the trouser. Now the next you have to do is to mark out your band. Because we cut on the fabric now, we'll just mark out the band. I want the width of my band to be 1.5 inches. So I'll just mark it out. Then I'll cut this out. I'm through with the cutting of the band. You can see how it looks. I cut the band on 1 inches. The other ½ inches will be on the fabric. You know we cut directly on the fabric. And after doing that, I have to fold my darts in this way. You fold it to the side of your trouser this way before cutting the main band. ½ inches for joining the bands together. Then the length of my band is 1.5. Then ½ inches for sewing allowance. When cutting the band, you cut 4 pieces, 2 for lining, 2 for the main fabric. I'll cut out my hardest gum stay for the band of my trouser. I will do that. And now the next we have to do is to go and sew the dart on the trousers. I'll go and sew the dart on the back and the front of my trouser. I'm through with the sewing of my darts. You can see how it is. I've done the same thing also on the back of the trouser. Now the next we have to do is to sew the crouch here. This is the crouch, so I'll go and sew this on 1/2 inches. I'll start from the up here, from the waist here down to this side of my crouch here on 1/2 inches. I'm through with the sewing of the crouch for the front, and I've done the same thing also on the back of my crouch. You can see on the back, let me share a tip I used to do, and it works for me on my trousers. You sew on double stitch after the sewing the first stitch. I don't know if you can see this, the first stitch and the second stitch. That way, by the time you sit down, even though one stitch wants to lose, the other will not lose. That's what I do. So now after doing this, now after sewing the crouch, the next we have to do is to join the inseam of the trouser. So you make sure the joining of your crouch are together this way, like this, and you open up the seam this way. So now I will go and sew from this, my center of the crouch here, this side here, down to this hem of my trouser. I'll do this for this side, and I will come back again and sew the same thing. You start to sew on this center here of your crouch here, this place my hand is. That's where you start to sew, and you sew to this other side of the hem of the trouser. I'm through with the sewing of the inseam. You can see how it is. And after sewing the inseam, you have to press your seams open. You can see the way I pressed my seams open. Now we'll keep the trouser outside, so we'll work on the band. This is my band, the front band. Now we'll go and sew down the center front on 1/2 inches here. I'll do the same thing also on the lining. You can see I label my lining so I can know where is the up and the down of the band. So now on the center front, I'll go and sew the center front together. After sewing it, then I will turn the up of the band. You know, this is the lining of the band, and this is the main fabric of the band. Now I'll go and sew 1/2 inches, 1/2 inches, and open it up. Then I will turn the up of the band. I will do this and do the same thing also on the back of my band. I'm through with the sewing of the band for the front. You open your seam while you're sewing. Now you can see this place that has the hardest gum stay. I fold it in. So now I'll bring the front of my trouser and the front of the band. And to fix your band to the trouser, you make sure the joining of your band, this side here, is facing the joining of the trouser at the center this way. You hold it this way. Now you'll be sewing the lining, not the main band. No, where your hard gum stays, that's not where you sew first. You sew on the lining. So now I'll go and sew from the center of my crouch here, from the center of the trouser here for the front to this side of my trouser, and I will do the same thing also on this other side. I'm through with the sewing of the band. You can see how it is. Now this place that the hard gum stay is on the band, you turn it to the front this way, and you make sure this 1/2 inches you sew is inside this way. Then you sew down like this to the other end of the trouser. I'll do this and do the same thing also on the back of my trouser. I'm through with the sewing of the band. You can see how neatly finished it is at the front. Now the next we have to do is to join this trouser at the sides on 1 inches from the waist down to the hem of the trouser. I'll be joining this on 1 inches. I'm through with the joining of the side of the trouser. Now the next we have to do is to fix in the zipper at the side. We'll be fixing the zipper at the side of the trouser. I'll go and sew my zipper from the waistband this way. This is how I will sew the zipper down. And after sewing my zipper, I will fold the hem of my trouser on 1.5 inches. I've already pressed it so it will be easier for me. Fold it on 1.5 inches. Then I will display this on my dress form for you to see. I'm through with the folding of the hem of the trouser, and I've given it a good press. The size of this trouser is size 6 and my dress form is size 8. That's why I didn't display it, but I will surely make it short when the client fits it on.